Okay, just like yesterday when you did addition and subtraction, we're doing the same thing today with division and multiplication. So you're going to use variables today to solve equations using multiplication or division. This is lesson 2.6, chapter 2, lesson 6. Please make sure you have that on your notes. Make sure you have today's date on your notes. All right, division property of equality states that dividing each side by an equation by the same non-zero number produces an equivalent equation. Same thing. What do I mean by that? And again, you're not writing this, I'm just showing you this. 3x equals 15 is our equation here. If I divide this side by 3, I just get x. If I divide this side by 3, I get 5. X is 5. So let's make sure that makes it equal, like I just said it would. I'm going to replace the x in the equation here with 5. So I'm saying 3 times 5 equals 15. Let's see if that's true. What is 3 times 5? 15. And yes, that is equal to 15. So that's what this states, that if I divide by the same number, I'll make sure that this equation will be true. That one side, the left, will be equal to the other side of the equal sign, the right. Okay? Next slide. This you need to write using division to solve an equation. So please make sure that you have your pen out and are writing. Hold on. Okay, here we go. All right. Example 1, using division to solve an equation, 5x equals 20. So first we're going to write the original equation. Now, I'm going to focus on the side, again, with the variable. $5x. What am I doing with that variable? Anytime there's a variable, x, next to a number, 5, it means multiply. Well, what is the inverse operation of multiplication? It's division. So I'm going to divide to find out what x should be. If I divide one side by that number, I need to divide the other side by the same number. So, how much is x being multiplied by? Hopefully you said 5. Then how much do I divide by? Hopefully you said 5. So, divide by 5 on one side, then you divide by 5 on the other side. Divide by 5. This line means divide. So, 5x divided by 5 is 1x, or x by itself, because 5 divided by 5 is 1. 20 divided by 5 is 4. So, dividing both sides by 5, I get x equals 4, simplified. X is now by itself. When I go to check, I replace the 4 in with the x. 5 times 4 is 20. If you have any questions on this, if I've done anything and you're not sure what I've done here, please make sure to write them down and ask me tomorrow in class before you take your quiz, so we can make any clarifications. So 5 times 4 is indeed 20, so this checks. Some of you might be asking, I thought you couldn't combine like terms. How can you divide 5x by 5? The top 5 has an x, but the bottom 5 does not. Well, remember, combining like terms, those rules only apply to addition and subtraction, not multiplication and division. You can multiply and divide numbers with a variable with other numbers that don't have a variable. Okay? So you just divide the coefficient by the constant term. The coefficient on the top is 5. The constant term on the bottom is 5. So just dividing those numbers, 5 divided by 5 is 1. So you're saying 1 times x. Well, 1 times x by the identity property of multiplication says that the answer is still going to be x. So that's how I have my x by itself. Next example, example 2. What if we have, and I know this is going to throw some of you, but you'll need to practice a little bit with your decimals. So, with decimals, hold on one second. Sorry about that. I went a little too far. Okay. With decimals. Write the original equation. Focus on the side that has the variable. I want that variable by itself. What am I doing? I'm multiplying m times 4 and 6/10. How do I get rid of it? I divide m by 4 and 6/10. By the same amount I'm multiplying it by. Well, if I divide one side by 4 and 6/10, I have to also divide the other side by 4 and 6/10. Don't pay any attention to that. We're just going to highlight this. Divide both sides by 4 and 6/10. Okay, so divide each side by 4 and 6/10. What does that look like? So let me do this the long way so you can see. I have 2 and 3/10. First of all, I need you to remember in and out. The top number, the numerator, goes in a division problem, and the other number goes out of a division problem. In and out. We have to move the decimal out of the divisor. It can't be here, so we're going to move it to the end. So we have 46. Move this to the end, so we have 23. Well, 46 doesn't go into 23 even once, so I need to add a 0. So 46 into 23, not at all. 46 into 230, 5 times. 6 times 5 is 30. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 3 is 23. So, subtract 0. 0 and 5/10 is my answer for m. That's how I simplified so that m is by itself. To check my answer, I multiply 4 and 6/10 times 0 and 5/10. Remember, 0 and 5/10 is just equal to a half. So I'm finding half of 4 and 6/10. Well, half of 4 is 2, half of 6 is 3, so that makes sense that it's 2 and 3/10. The multiplication property of equality, you don't have to write this down, says that if you multiply on one side, you have to multiply by the same on the other side. So, I'm looking at this. If I have x divided by 4 and is equal to 3, and I want my x by itself, what am I doing with x? I'm dividing. What's the inverse of division? Multiplication. How much do I have to multiply by? Well, what is x being divided by? X is being divided by 4. Well, then that's what you have to multiply by, 4. If you multiply one side by 4, you need to multiply the other side by 4 because of the multiplication property of equality. So, I multiply this side by 4, then I need to multiply this side by 4 also. Now, some of you might forget how to do this, so let's look at this for a second. You make 4 whole number into a fraction, 4 over 1 times x over 4. To multiply fractions, we just multiply straight across. So 4 times x is 4x. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, x, or just x by itself. So anytime you have a numerator on this side and a denominator on this side that are the same, you can just cancel them out, and they become 1s. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and the other 4 divided by 4 is also 1, so that was easy. So x becomes by itself. You multiply the other side also by 4, and 4 times 3 is 12. So now I know x is 12. To check it, I replace in the original equation, let me erase this for you. I replace in the original equation the x with the number 12. So I'm saying 12 over 4 is 3. Is that correct? Yes, it is. Then it checks. So I want you to write example 3. Using multiplication to solve an equation. This is the equation we're going to solve. X over 5 is 12. Make sure you write the original equation. Now, what am I doing? We're going to focus on the side with the variable. I'm dividing x by 5. What's the opposite or inverse of division? Multiplication. How much do I multiply by? 5. Multiply this side by 5, the left. Multiply the right also then by 5. Multiply each side by 5. And then we're going to simplify so x is by itself. So these 5's cancel and I have x by itself. 5 times 12 is 60. And x is 60 then. Replace 60 in the equation to check it. 60 divided by 5 is indeed 12, so it checks. Guided practice number 1, 3a equals 21, 3 times a. Opposite of multiplication is division, so I multiply by whatever a is being divided by. I divide by whatever a is being multiplied by. A is being multiplied by 3, I divide by 3. If I divide by 3 on one side, then I have to divide by 3 on the other side as well. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so that's a by itself. 21 divided by 3 is 7. A equals 7. I'm saying 3 times 7 is 21. Yes, that checks out. B divided by 3 is 3. B is being divided by 3. What's the inverse of division? Multiplication. How much do I multiply by? What's it being divided by? It's being divided by 3, so I multiply by 3. If I multiply by 3 on this side, I must also multiply by 3 on this side. The 3's cancel. I have b by itself, and 3 times 3 is 9. So I'm saying that 9 divided by 3 is 3. Yes, that's correct. So I know I have it right. B is 9. Number 3, x is being multiplied by 6. What's the inverse of multiplication? Division. How much do I divide by? 6. If I divide by 6 on this side, I also must divide by 6 on this side. 6 divided by 6 is 1, so x is by itself. 54 divided by 6 is 9. So I'm saying that when I multiply 6 times x, which is 9, I'm going to get 54. Yes, that's correct. It checks. So x is 9, and I use the division property to solve that. Number 4, y divided by 3 is 12. What am I doing here? Dividing. By how much? 3. What's the inverse of division? Multiplication. How much do I have to multiply by? 3. Then I have to multiply this side by 3 as well. The 3's cancel out. Y is by itself. 12 times 3 is 36. So I'm saying y is 36. When you divide that by 3, you get 12. Yes, that's correct. 36 divided by 3 is 12. And I used the multiplication property to solve it. Z divided by 5 is 24. I'm dividing. What's the inverse of division? Multiplication. How much do I multiply by? Whatever it's being divided by, 5. So, if z is being divided by 5, and I want z by itself, then I have to multiply by 5. If I multiply by 5 on that side, I must also multiply by 5 on this side. That becomes z. And 24 times 5 is 120. So I'm saying 120 divided by 5 is 24. I'll check it just to make sure. Yes, it is. Okay? And I used the multiplication property to solve that. Okay? P is being multiplied by 7. The inverse of multiplication is division, so I need to divide by 7. Then I need to divide by 7 here as well. P is by itself. 42 divided by 7 is 6. I use the division property, and P is 6. I'm using division here, so to solve it, I need multiplication. So I'm going to multiply by the same number on both sides. So I'm going to multiply by 5 here, and multiply by 5 here. Now this becomes Q, and 54 times 5. I'm going to do that long ways to make sure I don't make any errors. Okay? 270. So I'm saying 270 divided by 5 equals 54. And I'll check it to make sure. 270 divided by 5. So Yes, it is 54. And I use the multiplication property, so Q equals 270. Division. Divide by 4. Divide by 4 because R is being multiplied by 4. R is by itself, and 72 divided by 4. We don't want any mistakes, so let's just play it safe and do it the long ways. 1 times 4 is 4. 7 minus 4 is 3. Bring down your 2. 4 goes into 32 8 times. 8 times 4 is 32. Subtract 18. So 18 is R. So what am I saying then? I'm saying that 4 multiplied by 18, 4 multiplied by 18 equals 72. And yes, it does, so my answer is indeed 18. Division property 18. All right, that is that. Have a nice evening. You will have a quiz on this in the morning, so be prepared. Make sure you re-watch any part that you didn't understand. Thank you.